Hello, everybody. Today we're here with James Wu, DFG CEO and founder. He has been kind enough to share his office with us and invite us to share his 2021 predictions. So, James, how are you?
Doing well, thank you, Alex. Hello, everyone. This is James.
We're going to begin with a small recollection of the 2020. An important part of what you said in 2020, that was you had a 2 to 3 year bullish outlook on the crypto market, and after a very let's say roller coaster ride of a 2020, are you still bullish for the next 2 or 3 years?
Yeah, sure. Everyone can see that this year is a super, bullish market for crypto, and especially in Q3 we can see the increase of the DeFi and also Ethereum. In Q4 we can see the great bullish rally of Bitcoin. So I think the trend will continue definitely in the next 2 and 3 years, for basically a couple of reasons. The first, we can see that a lot of institutional players moving into the market start to buy Bitcoin and start allocating their capital to Bitcoin. That's a much bigger kind of capital. For example, Fidelity hold like $3 trillion. If they hold like 1% of Bitcoin, they put like 1% into Bitcoin, that would be like $300 billion. It's a lot of money. So basically, the capital, traditional mainstream capital, will support this industry, which is a super positive trend for the crypto market, and make sure the industry will grow much faster than we expected. The second reason is we can see, previously we can only see the layer 1 protocol, we only have Ethereum, but to build different kind of application DApp on top of it. But right now we can see the increase of, especially this year, we can see the increase of other protocols become more mature and much decent, to at least to grow pretty fast, at least to have a chance to compete with Ethereum. This year we can see the listing of Polkadot. Next year will be the launch of Polkadot. So Polkadot is also a super well-defined protocols, have great and solid technology around. I think that ecosystem will be very big. And for example, we have other sector like IPFS. We have Filecoins become so popular this year. So overall speaking, on layer 1, we will see the much solid and more protocols to compete with each other on that side, not just Ethereum. You can choose. So in that one, we will see much competitions on that sector. So that we will see a lot of application can build on top of. They can choose whatever protocol they want to build on top of it. That's excellent, and that's the second reason. The third, I will say, with the this year with the DeFi growth, especially about infrastructure layer of DeFi like Uniswap and different dApps, that will give us a lot of room for different applications to run on the network. We can see liquidity minings, we can see lendings, we can see maybe in the future we can even see insurance and there are other things move pretty fast on this one. We will see a lot of end user applications coming out with different protocols, and that will help the industry become mature and people can really use their token and really use the coins. That will create a real utility and functionality of the token that will definitely in long run increase the price of the tokens. So what I'm saying is not only DeFi but also NFTs, like decentralized storage and other whatever application makes sense and make sure people can use it. That will increase the price of the token and make sure it is healthy for the industry. So overall speaking, I think on the capital side we will see institutional capital coming, and definitely they're already coming. The second part is the layer 1 infrastructure become more solid and a lot of players compete with each other. That's what create more competition. Then we will increase the over the infrastructure. The second, we will see more of end user application came out and people can really use it. So overall speaking, we think in the next 2-3 years, I predict there will be a very solid bullish market for the next 2 and 3 years.
Okay, you were speaking about the institutional investors, right, and the capital that is entering the space. How about what are your thoughts, if you would like to share, on the regulations on governments and how they are regulating, how this will affect virtual asset service providers? What are your thoughts on this subject?
Sure, I think overall speaking, they are connected with the regulation take care about the crypto industry and they start to care about it. Definitely, we can see that they are trying to eliminate all the illegal stuff and make sure the legal stuff become more popular and mature. And with that being created or that being moving forward, then we will see institutional capital are more willing to allocate their capital into the crypto industry. For example, we will see, for this year, especially in Q4 this year, we see, BitMax entering into some province, and we will see, maybe, maybe in the future USDT and other XRP, for example, a couple of weeks ago entering into the province. So we will see, not only about the U.S. government, but also other governments start to really take a deep look at the industry and make sure the illegal player they are out of business. But that also means the Bitcoins and other legal stuff will become more mainstream and with the definition become more clear and with all the illegal stuff are eliminated by the government, then we will see this will be kind of more mainstream and the people and especially capital will start to allocate their capital into the legal stuff like Bitcoins. Then we will see the Bitcoin really like this. So that's I think in the short term there will be some negative impact on the market, but in the long run it's definitely healthy and important for crypto to grow and become more important in the future.
Yeah, so having that distinction between commodities and securities and how they are offered, that's going to be important, right? That's going to, let's say, attract more institutional investors than what there already is.
Right. If you got a clear definition, then people do know what kind of ways they should invest, which kind of tools or vehicles. So that is important. It's important to give a clear definition of it. My understanding, I could be wrong, but my understanding, layer 1 is probably commodity, layer 2 is security. So that's my understanding about the definition of crypto.
Okay, pretty straightforward. So you were talking about also you were mentioning USDT, so Tether, right? Or let's say these stable coins, which could be in a sense affected by CBDCs. Do you have any thoughts regarding CBDCs and how they may affect? Do you think it's going to be some kind of a power struggle?
Yeah, sure. I mean that's a good question. I think overall speaking, I think stable coin is important. Cause right now the fiat will have definitely a much powerful and much bigger. So it's important to have stablecoin right now. But one point is you have to make sure the first is you need to become very regulated and legal on that side. Cause eventually you are holding fiat, right? If you want to hold US dollar, then you should choose a legal one like USDC or other licensed stablecoin, right?
Yeah.
Not USDT, but USDT you don't have enough asset backed by this coin. But if eventually you are not creating a decentralized stuff, you want to go fiat, just rather a kind of way of holding EFTs, holding tokens. So in that way, you should definitely trust the legal stuff. So I would say probably next year, my prediction is USDC. Could be other, licensed, a stablecoin with dominant market. It will be a big change on that side. Speaking of CBDC, I think that could be also an important milestone for a country for this. Eventually, fiat they have fiat it belongs to the country, right? So you cannot. It's not like a Bitcoin that borderless. So you have like a euro, you have RMB, you have like a USD. So every digitalization ways of the fiat is important to its own jurisdiction. So that's my thought. They could create some competition, but not too much. Basically, you are using basically this digitalized ways of fiat in your country. So that's the whole point. So I don't think there will be too much it's not like a protocols compete with each other. Basically, they are borderless.
Okay, so you were also mentioning the different sectors which you believe that have had a very positive effect within this year, right? We saw DeFi, we saw a lot of investment coming into different sectors in different areas. You have DFG has a large amount of assets under management, and you have been an important player within the space. So which fund, if you had to maybe not a fund, but if you had to select a sector which you think is going to be the one that will grow the most within 2021, so in a year's time, do you have a favorite? Do you have some kind of an idea of which you think or which you as DFG representative are looking to invest in?
Sure. I think first of all, for either large capital or retail customer, which is not deep in the industry, I really suggest take a look at Bitcoin because it's like everyone knows Bitcoin and the consensus is so stable, so people knows about it. But maybe Bitcoin will not bring you the best returns for that. It could be like 2x or 3x, but definitely not 10x. So that's my prediction. So, but with that part, which means for DFG, since we are in the industry for a long time, so we are kind of getting deep involved, we will allocate only part of capital into Bitcoin. So that's one sector definitely need to take care of. The other two things I think probably will, at least our company will have more allocation is Polkadot and DeFi. For Polkadot, it's important next year will be the launch of Polkadot mainnet, and we will see the pair auction. With that saying, there will be a lot of problems on the Ethereum network could be solved through the Polkadot network, and we can see the Polkadot ecosystem. There are so many kind of different applications are building on top of the Polkadot ecosystem, and they are apply the grant from Web3 Foundation. A lot of interesting ideas, whether they have been tests successful or unsuccessful on Ethereum network, we just see the ecosystem become so promising. So I think that for the Polkadot, since the valuation is still around like right now $7 billion, still a relatively low valuation, I think that would be a good bet. And that's one logic. For the second logic, why Polkadot will the price will increase is for next year. You can see a lot of people probably at least 60% of the token will be staking. Right, the unstaking reward, and then we will, let's say we have 10 pair chains, each one lock like 15 or 20 million Polkadot tokens, then it will be 15 to 20%. So basically, the circulation supply on the market is so small. Then the people really need the token to either staking and a reward or just like win the pair chain auction. So it's so useful for the token. People need to use it. So there will be very less token on the market if we want to sell it. That's also a financial logic why Polkadot is being so important, and next year I think the market of Polkadot will be so good, and with the ecosystem building, we will see the price of the token increase. The third I would say is still we will see the growth of DeFi. Right now we can see the TVL is close to somewhere like I don't know, maybe right now more than $10 billion.
Yeah.
But that's still a relatively small amount. My prediction it will goes up to at least like a $50 billion. Could be 100 billion if the market is good enough. So that's my idea. I think we will see within that we will see a lot of we will see the increase of the top tier DeFi project in different sectors. For example, on the DEX side, if Uniswap become good, I think Uni is worth buying. If on the other lending side, if MakerDAO is doing well, I think definitely the token is worth buying. Just choosing the sector which is promising and which works, then buying the top one or top two tokens. That would be the main strategy of the company. I think that's the most stable and a low risk strategy, and will give you a lot of return on that.
Okay. Do you expect, for example, this big entrance of capital? Do you expect it to create some kind of a giant within the industry that cannot be taken down, somewhat of a Google or an Apple, within DeFi or within the blockchain, if you want to go further? But within DeFi, do you think that we're still at an early stage, or that we could be at that point where there is such a heavy entrance of capital into a specific project or a protocol that it will make it kind of invincible?
Sure. I mean, for right now, still, the capital need to move in a legal way, right? So I guess, right now, capital definitely can buy Bitcoin because this is commodity. People can do that. And through the Grayscale product, you can, hold it also GBDC as, security, and then that's also Bitcoin. So basically, we can see, for example, Grayscale really only have 3% of their Bitcoin. It could have like a 10 to 15 probably next year because there are tremendous demand from the mainstream capital side to allocate their capital to Bitcoin. So that's the ways. For the next things, I would say Ethereum, but I think Ethereum is also legal. We can see a listing of Ethereum future product.
Yeah.
That's also a super positive signal. But for other protocols, it's probably a little bit too early to say whether a huge player like Google, Facebook, or like JP Morgan and others will allocate capital to that because they are still early stage. You need to have a really mature product with all the application on top of it. Then everything goes well for a couple of years. Then and then it's very legit and legal. Government recognize it. Then people will capital will kind of come in. And also right now, if you eliminate Bitcoin and Ether, the other protocol is probably a little bit too small for these kind of giant players. For example, if you have a token which value at $5 billion, that's a lot of money for the fund in the industry, but that's not a lot of money for for Google, right? So they have $1 trillion of valuation. So I guess that's also something because of the stage. If it's earlier, maybe they are not taking it too seriously. But with Bitcoin and Ether, definitely Bitcoin, I think they are going to care about it.
So talking about these big companies, right? Google, we were reading, especially in Q4, that there were lots of banks which were launching services to access Bitcoin or to access different kinds of cryptocurrencies. Do you think that at some point we will see a lot of mergers and acquisitions from the banks acquiring maybe a Binance or acquiring an exchange such as OKX or lending platforms such as BlockFi? Do you think that that could happen in 2021 or we should expect it further on?
Oh, I think it will definitely happen in 2021. The only point to us is whether they want to sell their company.
Exactly. Yeah.
For example, we can see right now token is pretty, we have enough liquidity and the economy is pretty mature and layer 1, layer 2 pretty clear. But for the equity side, we definitely will see the Coinbase listing on Q1 next year. So that's a positive signal for the whole industry, which means if you're doing well, then you get a chance to get listed. That's so in that way, a lot of successful companies, they probably will not choose to be acquired, they can go public. So that's a way for them to do it. The definitely another thing is since the mainstream capitals are taking care of all this, there will be certain kind of amount of merger and acquisition in this industry. That's 100%. I would say the amount should be larger than $1 billion. For example, I think for the second half of the year of this year, we can see the largest investment is back. It's $300 billion. It's not a good deal, and it's basically the parent company investing on some companies. So that's not a big issue. But we will definitely see the capital start to acquire the crypto companies probably start from next year, and we will see billions of deals in this industry.
Okay, so going back to DeFi real quick, there's an important thing that we've seen. We've seen that Ethereum. You were talking about Ethereum. You were talking about Polkadot. What are your thoughts on Bitcoin and DeFi? We've seen that RSK is leading the charge, right? What are your thoughts? Do you think it's possible? Do you think that it will be able to create these layer 2 kind of services to attack the DeFi public?
Sure. My understanding is Bitcoin is definitely going to the DeFi world, but not by building different stuff on the Bitcoin network. So Bitcoin is not designed for the DeFi. It's right now it's probably digital gold. In the future will be peer-to-peer, just cash, internet cash kind of system. So it's not designed for this. Build kind of application on Bitcoin network is for me it's not a realistic or a smart way to do that. My understanding is you can create like WBTC, a ERC20 tokens and one-to-one backed by Bitcoin, then move into Ethereum ecosystem, move into Bitcoin to Polkadot ecosystem, and go through that ecosystem and throughout that way because they have infrastructure and basically protocols which are suitable for building different DeFi projects. And since Bitcoin have the best kind of consensus and the people believing in it, why not just moving Bitcoin to that ecosystem and use that? So that's something I think will be the ways for Bitcoin to enter into the DeFi world.
Okay, and if you had to choose one event for next year that you think will be the most impactful, this year we had DeFi, the yield farming events,
Yeah.
right? For DeFi, we had the halving, which it came right at a point during the COVID, moment where it didn't really have that effect, and it's supposed to be having effect after 18 months, or that's
Right.
how it's been historically. We saw institutional investors come into the space. We saw a lot of investment from PayPal, Visa, kind of opening up to the retail investor. What if you had to choose? Do you think it would be Bitcoin, rising to an unknown number, 100,000 or whatever the number is? There's a lot of numbers out there. Do you think it would be DeFi? Do you think it would be the CBDCs gaining, being launched throughout the world, M&As, regulations? Which would, if you had to choose one, or if you want to share others, but which do you think would be probably the most important?
Yeah, I would say, probably I would choose among three things. I think all the others are small things. Three things are big. One is Bitcoin, making title by Bitcoin. The second is, because eventually this borrowing start with Ethereum for their DeFi product.
Yeah.
The third is, DFG invests a lot, and we think this makes sense. It's parallel auction of Polkadot. So I mean, for the industry, probably still, my prediction is probably the second one. The DeFi run is still the most important one for the whole, whole kind of ball run for the next year. I think that's the most important one. But for our company side, I would say the parallel auction is probably the most exciting one for us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You're looking forward to that. Great. Okay. So there we got it, guys. This is DFG founder and CEO James Wu sharing his thoughts for 2021. James, any last words?
Yeah, thank you everyone, and hope you like the podcast created by me and Alex. And see you guys. We will, see whether I'm right, like or wrong, like next year.
Okay. Bye bye.